Hi everybody, today we have another Family Memories Monday. And today we've got a really special recipe that I'm making for you. So I'm doing a special recipe today that is in collaboration with Vickie's Country Home. And the recipe I'm making you today kind of has some funny stories behind it. So I hope you enjoy it, and I really hope you try to make the recipe. So what we're doing today is we're making my grandmother's recipe of Wisconsin cinnamon rolls. Now she calls them Wisconsin cinnamon rolls because when they go up camping every year and stay in this cabin, they would make these cinnamon rolls for everybody for breakfast. Well, so first let's get with what's in here and then I'll start telling you some stories. So far in here I've already got a 1/4 cup of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. Now to that I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of shortening, but I prefer to use lard. You can use whatever you want. I just really prefer baking with lard, so that's what I'm going to use. So we're just going to go ahead and put that in the bowl. And then I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of lukewarm milk. I've already warmed this up. Just going to add this in there. Now, it's not going to stir up as much as you'd hope, but it does incorporate it, and that's really all we need. You're not trying to blend it and make it a whipping or anything like that. You're just trying to incorporate a little bit. Okay. So, I think I told you in one of the other videos that one of my grandmothers is German Baptist, and she has taught me most of my baking skills. Well, I remember I think I was about 11 years old, and she taught me how to make these cinnamon rolls. Well, my dad found out that she taught me how to make these cinnamon rolls, and my dad loves these rolls more than anything. So much so that to this day, I have to make them at least twice a year. For Father's Day, which is around his birthday, and Christmas. Every year. Now you'll see in this, the way we're doing it here, it's not real complicated. So you wouldn't think it'd be that bad. However, back in the day, I did not have my beautiful, handy KitchenAid mixer. So I had to do it all by hand. And I will tell you what, it's not much fun. Okay, so now we've got that incorporated. And so you just kind of have to have it incorporate a little bit. I'm not expecting to get it all mixed up. Okay, so now what I need is 2 packages of yeast and a cup of warm water. Now you want your water between 105 and 110 degrees. If it's any hotter than that, it can kill your yeast. Any cooler than that, it may not activate it as fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and set aside, I'm going to put my yeast in with a 1/2 cup of warm water. And you need 2 packages of yeast. Well, I don't have packages. I've got the jars, which means I need 4.5 teaspoons. Okay, so I've got my warm water right here. And it says it's 106. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in a bowl. I'm going to get 4.5 teaspoons of yeast, and I'm just going to give it a real light stir. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and a half. And actually, I'm also going to add, this is my own special little thing. I'm going to add just a dash of sugar, and it's going to help activate that yeast a little bit faster. And I'll tell you what, I did not know about proofing yeast until just recently, and that would have saved so much headache. Now, for you that may not know how to proof your yeast, It's important for one, like I said, to have it between 105 and 110 degrees. Also, a lot of times, if you have a recipe that calls for sugar with your yeast and water, which most of them do, or milk or things like that, what you do is you go and you put just your sugars and your yeast and your water, and you put them in a bowl or in the large bowl, you know, whatever you're mixing in, your mixing bowl, and you set it aside. And if it bubbles, which it will normally about, you know, within 10 to 15 minutes. It depends on where you're at, how warm it is and stuff like that. And say if your yeast is bad, all you're gonna waste is a little bit of sugar and water. Not that big of a deal. But if you don't proof it and you don't know if it's active or not, and believe me, I have bought in envelopes that turns out they weren't active. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it aside and set it and cover it with a warm damp cloth. So while that's rising, I'm going to finish some of my story. So anyway, so I learned how to make these, and I was doing it by hand. And my dad absolutely loved these cinnamon rolls. And that's fine, and I had no problem making them. But sometimes it would be 9 o'clock at night, and he'd be like, Jenny, I'm in the mood for some cinnamon rolls. Make your dad some cinnamon rolls. It got to where I hated making these cinnamon rolls. Absolutely hated it. And I actually call them my freaking cinnamon rolls. But once I got the KitchenAid mixer, it was so much easier. But I didn't want to let my dad know that, or he'd want me to make them all the time. So I thought that it was a fun little thing. So I still make them, and I make them for them, like I said, at least twice a year. So I thought this was a good recipe to share because it definitely has some stories. The other funny thing is that my grandmother that taught me how to make these, like I said, she's German Baptist, and so they're very good at cooking and baking and things like that. Well, it was so fun. I got the largest compliment one time because a friend of mine, his grandmother's also German Baptist. Well, I've made him some pies and stuff before. And one day we were talking and he goes, I didn't realize that your grandma was German Baptist too. He goes, well, now that makes some sense because I've ate your baking. And so I took that as a very big compliment. She taught me well. Okay, and look at that. See, it's all foamy. That means it's good active yeast. So we're good to go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine this in here with my lard, the rest of my sugar. And see, in all actuality, what I would have done, because like I said, this is my grandmother's recipe, and what she would do is she would put the milk, the lard, the salt, the milk, the shortening, or the lard, the sugar, and the salt all in here. And normally what I do, since I've learned how to proof the yeast, I would actually not put the sugar in here. I would just put the milk, the lard, and the salt, and do the sugar with the water and the yeast. But I just added just a sprinkle to get it active, so it's not going to add that much more to it. So you can proof it however you want, but this is just how I normally do it. Well, actually, this is not technically how I normally do it, but I just also, it was a good thing to show you as far as, you know, just a little sprinkle of sugar will activate that yeast. Okay, so now I need to add 2 eggs, which I've already got cracked and ready to go, because they are farm fresh eggs, so I want to make sure they were good. The one looked like a yolk and a half. Okay, so now I got that in there, and I'm going to do 1 cup of flour right now. I'll have the video down in the description. And I'll also link a playlist for Vickie's, all the other Mondays collaborations up in the cards, because we've been doing this. This is our 3rd week now, and I've had a lot of fun, and I really thank Vickie for opening this collaboration for others. Okay, so I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar. Or 1 cup of flour, sorry, 1 cup of flour, not sugar. Okay, we're going to mix this in. And if there's any recipes that some of your family members absolutely love and that you do not care to make as well, leave them down in the comments, because I'd love to hear what you guys have had to make over the years that you don't really care for, or it's kind of a pain in the butt, but you still do it because you love your family, you want to make them happy. I told Chad, I said, you know I'm making this and my dad's nowhere around, right? Because he's still back up in Indiana. And I said, if he sees this video, I'm going to be in so much trouble. And I told him, I said, well, what are we going to do with all these cinnamon rolls? Because that's the other thing is, I've made these since like I said, it's probably 11 or 12. I don't eat them. And so I'm not a huge sweets eater. You see me making a lot of pies and cakes and stuff. I don't eat those either. But I love, love, love watching other people eat it. And I get so excited. And I'm always like, so is it good? Well, what's it taste like? Because I don't know. So I have to go by everybody's word for it. A lot of people crack up at that. I was like, I'm just not a huge sweets eater. Now the pumpkin bread, yeah, that'll eat. It is gone. Okay, so we kind of got that incorporated. So now we're going to add 1 more cup of flour, not sugar. I don't know why I was thinking sugar. Okay, I'm going to mix that in. And then after this is incorporated, we're going to let it sit and rise for about 15 minutes. Actually, this recipe here that I'm going to show you has a kind of like a caramel glaze over top of it. I'm really thinking about possibly taking the same recipe, making the rolls, but baking them and then doing like a cream cheese icing. I think that'd be really good. And I might eat them then, or at least try one. I'm just not too thrilled on the sweet, syrupy topping. But, you know, to each their own. Alright, so that's pretty good incorporated. So now I'm going to cover it with a warm, damp cloth as well. That just kind of helps it rise a little bit faster. Instead of just covering it with a towel. Okay, take this off. I'm going to set it over by the stove. And I'll bring you guys back when it's been 15 minutes. Okay, the timer went off. It's been 15 minutes. So it's nice and puffy. So now what we need to do is add 2 more cups of flour. There's 1. This may get a little loud when this puppy starts mixing that, because it's going to thump all around and make a nice dough ball. Okay, so you see we got a nice dough ball in there. Get it off the hook. Okay. And then what we need to do is we need to divide it in half. I'm going to lightly flour the counter, because we're going to roll these out. We're going to divide it into 2 and then roll it out. Do the best you can. Okay. It's still a little tacky, so I'm going to sprinkle some flour over top. Just put a little of that with you. Okay. Kind of form it to a ball. I'm going to roll it out. I'm going to set this other one over to the side. I don't have a dough scraper, which I'd like to get one. And I'm not using my beautiful rolling pin that my hubby made me, because it is in storage. I don't know how that happened. So, you know, you kind of want to make it oblong shape, so that way you can get the most out as you can. Alright, so now that we have it rolled out, for the most part, I don't like that bulge right there. Okay. Now we got it rolled out. What we need to do is pat it with some butter. So I got some softened butter right here. It only takes about 1 stick to do each portion, which means, you know, a half a stick per each. It also depends on, you know, how much butter you want to add, how much you want on the inside. But I normally use about a stick between the two. Kind of want to spread it out. I like to try to get it as even as I can. Looks good to me. Okay, and then what we're going to do, we're going to sprinkle it with some cinnamon and with some brown sugar. And we like lots of cinnamon. So this is all on your discretion, how much cinnamon you like. We want to get a good dusting on it. Okay. Alrighty. Then we'll sprinkle it with some brown sugar. And on this stuff, I'm sorry guys, I really don't measure. I just kind of do what feels right. You know, I mean, you don't want it super thick, but you want to get it well distributed. So I don't know, maybe, I'd say maybe a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Okay, so now that I got that, I'm going to roll it up into your spiral. So we got a spiral and we're going to cut it into pieces. Okay, so I got a little ahead of myself when I was rolling this out. What I forgot to mention was we need to take a 9x13 pan. You need to put 1 stick of butter. We're going to put about a cup of brown sugar. This is what's going to make your caramel topping, okay? Now technically this is supposed to do both batches, but Chad and my dad and everybody likes theirs really caramely. So I basically double it, 1 for each batch. Okay, so now I got the melted butter, I got a cup of brown sugar, and then I need a 1/2 cup of warm water. Okay, and that's for my second batch. So now I can go ahead and cut these puppies up, and we're going to just set them down in the pan. And they're homemade, so they're not going to look perfect. You have all different sizes. You know, I try to cut them evenly. But these little tail ones sometimes are just so funky. And the bigger space you give in between, the more they'll rise. So we got a little dinky one there, but so there we've got 12 little rolls, and now we're going to do the second set. So now we've got those 12 in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set them over here on the stove, cover them with a warm damp cloth, and then they need to rise 20 minutes, and then we'll be ready to put them in the oven. I'll bring you back. Okay, so now I've had them rising for about 20 minutes. Look at that. Get nice and fluffy. Got the butter all sitting on top, which should all bake down. So now we're going to put these in the oven at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. Alrighty, the timer went off. Look at those beauties. Alright, I'm going to get them pulled out, flip them over. We'll show you what they look like. Here we go. Some ooey gooey goodness right there. So there you have it, folks. There is my great-grandmother's, well, and then passed down to me, my grandmother's Wisconsin cinnamon roll recipe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And like I said, if you have any recipes that you make for one of your family members that they absolutely love and you don't really care to make, put it down in the comments, because I'd love to read what you guys have had to make as well for your family members. So I hope you like this video. Give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And don't forget, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook under Betten the Farm. Thanks again to Vickie's Country Kitchen, or Vickie's Country Home. And I hope you guys enjoy this collaboration. Have a great day. See ya. Bye.